Damon, Bonser, John Mathers. British design for centuries has been the envy of the world, and but unfortunately with the reputation so often of great products, great ideas going off somewhere else and being commercially realized. Equally, Britain produces some of the best designers in the world, but too often they're dragged off elsewhere. Apple wouldn't be the biggest company in the world if Steve Jobs hadn't realized the potential of Jonathan Ive and how he could actually turn and use British design to turn Apple into a product that everyone wanted and everyone needed. The British Design Fund is hopefully there to address both of those challenges. It does what it says on the tin. It invests in well-designed, very early stage physical product ideas. I'm John Mathers. I'm the ex-CEO of the Design Council. Whilst I was there, we ran an early stage incubator for exactly that, very, very early stage physical product designs. And what we found when we went out to find follow-on funding was that there just weren't the funds there to support that. So that's why Damon and I put our money where our mouth is to set up the British Design Fund. We launched the first fund last year. We raised the money successfully, very successfully. We have invested in 5 companies. Those 5 companies we've been following on and making sure that they're being successful. We launched 2 funds at the end of last year, an EIS fund and an SEIS fund. So this evening, Damon and I are briefly going to tell you a little bit about the team that is there to support that, importantly, the mentors that we have to really make those companies successful, how we help growth, and then we're going to finish off with, rather than us telling you how successful the fund is and how important the fund is, some of the companies that we've invested in, telling you a little bit about what they're getting from the fund.
Thanks, John. Hi, I'm Damon. So I'm just going to run through some of the ways we support the companies. Obviously, the cash is very important to them, but more than that, the founders we talk to, they really need support as they realise their products and they set up the manufacturing, take it through to market, build up the sales, and scale up. And if I pick a couple of the points that we've got here, that really whatever sector those products go through to, the founders typically need our support on. So sales for sure. So how they build up the sales teams, how they penetrate those markets, how they talk to some of the institutions, whether it's selling through procurement through the NHS or through sort of large retailers, distributors, wholesalers. There's a process that should be followed, and for some of these people, it's the first time they've done it. They're often, as you'll see from the video later, many of the founders are, they're sector specific, but they're not necessarily product designers themselves. They need our support to help them on that, and they may not have launched a product business before and really comfortable with how the sales process goes. Otherwise, I'd say most of them need assistance with the manufacturing, so getting it set up, whether it's manufactured in the UK or overseas. What's important to us is that the IP resides in the UK and that it's a British company, that they can manufacture in various locations. But they often need hand-holding, and we'll talk a bit about the mentors later on, but hand-holding for things like manufacturing, setting up the tooling, starting that production process. Also, we support them on financial planning, kind of getting all of the management information there so that we can get the numbers reported to us each month. And just pick up on the last point there. It's important the companies that we work with, we need to see scale in them. That we don't look just for them to service the domestic market. We want them to grow internationally, and it also helps with their cash flow, helps to avoid us putting all the money just into stock. If we can partner them up with international distributors that pay pro forma, that maybe give them a deposit, it means they don't burn through the cash just putting it into stock.
Which one is it? So although the fund is young, I may not be, but the fund certainly is, we've got a highly experienced and industry-led team. So just to give you a sense of who we've got in that executive team, Damon has set up and sold companies. He's created over 400 products. David Kramer runs a very successful toy licensing company. Also has the global IP rights to the Rubik's Cube. Still sells 100 million units a year, would you believe? David, too, brings a commercial background from the publishing and media world. And Jonathan, who recently sold his law company that he set up 30 years ago, brings that sort of due diligence approach. My background, obviously ran the Design Council in the latter years of my working career, but also ran some of Martin Sorrell's biggest brand and design consultancies. And then obviously we've got the reassurance of the backup of Sapphire Capital Partners and our very own Boyd Carson, who I suspect some of you might know in this room.
Great, and I'll just run through. I mean, this is just an example of some of the mentors that work alongside the core team at the fund. So, core team at the fund provide, we're there every day for when they need help. But what we like to do is partner each of the businesses we work with a mentor. Typically, that will last for sort of 3 to 4 months, and the mentors we expect to work with them for sort of anywhere between 5 to 10 hours per month. And it's very specific. So if I pick a couple off here, for instance, Colm, former head of design at the NHS, or anything that's kind of medtech, anyone's got queries about how to access that procurement process through the NHS, we bring someone like Colm in. Someone not mentioned on here is an expert with setting up manufacturing. So, they can really advise those companies on what they should be spending on tooling, on that initial setup process, just guiding them through it all. And we've got you can see there's marketing, there's bootstrap marketers there. But the important thing is we reach out to that wider mentor community, we bring them in, and we sort of cycle them through as they have specific challenges that they need support on.
So rather than us telling you about the companies we've invested in, let's hear from some of them.
Hi, I'm Damon, Bonser, CEO of the British Design Fund. We support early stage product businesses in the UK by providing expertise, mentoring, coaching, and the vital cash that they need to launch their products into market.
My name is Jenny Bailey, and I'm the founder of Cala. We are a brand of beautiful and stylish footwear, specially designed to fit the feet of bunion-inflicted ladies everywhere. The British Design Fund have helped me in quite a lot of ways to opening up their network of experts and people that I need to talk to open doors and to help with strategy to grow the business.
I'm Nick White, MD of I Want a Standing Desk. The funding to date, where it's going to really help us is in the marketing area. We've been, for the first time, been able to actually link up with one of the leading UK's education marketing specialists, something we could not have considered before. But now we can, and we're creating this amazing campaign with them.
Hi, Tim, CEO and co-founder of Cocoon. At Cocoon, our mission is to help people relax and sleep easier. Our first product is the Relax Headphone. This helps induce sleep using different audio techniques. It helps protect sleep, blocking out disturbances, noise, and also monitors sleep, so learning what's working so that in time the audio can better help that person relax and sleep. It's great to have a fund that really knows design, knows products, and really has been there and faced a lot of the challenges that we face before. So, for example, they help us with their network, so helping find talent, helping find the right people to kind of plug that skills gap and plug that bit of knowledge gap that we have.
My name's Paul, I'm the inventor of the N-Box, which is an electrical wiring sensor using 221 connectors from Via. The fund has helped me out quite a lot so far, because on top of arranging the finance for it, there's been a point of contact there. There's been someone I can talk to when I've got an issue, be it with taxation or be it with marketing and diverse issues. There's someone there I can talk to, and I've got. It sounds corny, but it feels like it's the reassurance that you're not by yourself. I am not alone.
Thanks very much, folks.
Thank you.
We were at the back for later on, and we can share some of the quite extensive deal flow that we've got lined up for this year. Thanks very much indeed.
Thanks.